man named Lee King-yoon, and he was born in 1678, and they say he died in 1930, which made him 252 years old.
252 years.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's true or not, and I didn't really believe it, and I still doubt it to a certain degree. The interesting thing is that because it's relatively modern date of death, scholars have been able to verify that his lifespan still is longer than anybody else's. Mm-hmm. Because when they started tracking it, I think he was well over 100 years old. So what he said was, it's interesting, the secret to his long life was that he was very active, and his diet consisted mostly of steamed above-ground vegetables and herbs. He limited his intake of grains and ate very little meat or root vegetables. But most importantly, each day he consumed a soup, he called it, made of pure goji.
Wow.
So even if half of it's true, I'll take it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, seriously.
The U.S. government recommends that every U.S. adult and child should eat at least 5 to 7 servings of fruits and vegetables each day to receive antioxidants, fiber, vitamins, minerals, and other important nutrients to maintain good health. How does Goji 100 compare to other fruits and vegetables? And how does it fit into this equation?
Well, goji is extremely high in vitamins. It's higher in vitamin C than oranges. It's very high amounts of vitamin E, which is very rare in fruits. It has very high amounts of minerals, high in trace minerals. It has 21 trace minerals. It's significantly higher in antioxidants than other fruits and vegetables. It's the highest on the ORAC rating of over 25,000 units. It's the only fruit or vegetable that contains LBP 1 through 5. It provides nutrients for our cells. It's fantastic for intercellular communication. It feeds and supports our entire glandular system. It supports our immune system. Mm-hmm. And it has all of these other novel compounds in it, like solovetivone, which is a natural antifungal and antibacterial. It has natural occurring germanium, which is very rare in foods. It has all 19 amino acids, all the essential ones, and it's the highest source of natural carotenoids, which is why it's so good for our eyes.
Wow, the list just keeps on going, doesn't it?
Sarah, I think it's important to mention to the listeners that goji is a survival plant. And a survival plant is a plant that it has the ability to survive very, very difficult and very harsh environments. You know, when I went to Western Mongolia and to some very, very remote places.
It's pretty harsh.
Ooh, you know, one of the roads.
Climate.
Yeah, the road that I was supposed to take was blown out a few days because of a sandstorm.
Wow.
That was completely blown out, and I had to go all the way around a different route to get to my final destination. And the interesting thing is that goji has the ability to survive fluctuations in the temperature of up to 100 degrees. So it'll be 95 degrees one day, and then 24 to 48 hours later, the temperature could be 5 below zero.
Wow.
Now, it has the ability to survive in these conditions. And so what Mother Nature does is Mother Nature has the ability to get these plants to produce these molecules. They're protein molecules, and they bind to complex carbohydrate molecules, and it allows this plant to be stronger, and it allows the plant to fight or survive, very much like a cactus or a noni fruit that can last for 9 months without water. And so it allows this plant to fight off soil-borne organisms or temperature fluctuations or drought, things like this. And I guess the bottom line that I want our listeners to understand is in this fruit and in this plant, that survival mechanism, if the plant is not overprocessed, can make it to our body, which helps our body do what?
To be nourished.
To fight.
To fight.
It helps our body to fight off these unwanted, aggressive things that we are exposed to
Makes sense.
on a daily basis.
That free radical damage that we just learned about.
Yeah, free radicals or viruses or amoebas or fungus or yeast or anything else that we're exposed to, worms and parasites. And it's transferring this fighting and surviving capability if it has not been over-processed to our body. And believe me, you want that.
Well, before the show, you were sharing with me how you process your goji. We heard about how other companies process the goji and how it doesn't benefit the end product. So can you explain to us a little bit more how you process the goji?
Sure, and we have this on our website too, with pictures of me in the goji fields with these beautiful Mongolian people who pick the goji berries. And all of our goji berries are picked by hand. So we'll start in the field, and you start in the field. The field must be free of chemicals and pesticides and herbicides and fungicides and larvicides and any other chemical that you don't want in your goji. Then the goji needs to be pruned by hand in the off season. Ours is pruned by hand. Then the goji must be picked by hand, not by machine. Guess how you pick the goji berry? You put up a burlap or nylon sack at the base of the goji bush, because it really is a bush, and the goji tree looks pregnant. It's just hanging with these rich, rich berries, hanging all the way to the ground. You reach your hand up there, and you go about 1.5 to 2 foot from the trunk of the tree, and you shake the bush, and the goji berries all fall into the sack. It's very much like the traditional way to pick olives. You don't sit there with your hand and pick them, because then you bruise the goji berry. You shake the tree and let what's ripe and what's ready fall into the bag. We then take the bag to the truck. We don't allow the trucks to drive on our farms. The goji berries are placed on a chemical-free, untreated wooden plate or a plank, where they are then washed with triple filtered water, where they then move into a tray, the next tray, which is wooden, where they sit and dry, and then they are put in a frozen container, a storage unit, where they are then picked up 5 to 7 days later and brought to the port in Asia, where they are then inspected by the Chinese government to make sure that they are free of chemicals, free of anything that's damaging that should not be in the belly of a container. Then they are shipped across the Pacific Ocean, where they then are received in the port in the U.S., usually Long Beach, where then the U.S. government comes in and tests it, quarantines the product and tests it to make sure that it doesn't have anything that's damaging or any bugs or any microbiological contamination, or there's no chemicals or anything. And then once it passed all those tests, then we quarantine it and we test it. And once it passed our test, then it gets the green tag where it goes to our bottling facility. Then when it gets there, it's tested again. Then it's processed the traditional way. It's processed the way it's been processed for the last 3,000 or 4,000 years, which means it's not diluted, it's not mixed with anything, and then it's very, very slowly cooked. This is how you do much of traditional Chinese herbs and medicine. In order for it to release the maximum amount of nutrients, we go through a very ancient, very traditional, very proprietary, slow cooking process, and we've had the nutrients tested. When it peaks out at the maximum amount of nutrient content, then we slow the cooking process down to nothing, and then we hot fill the glass bottle around 102 to 103 degrees. Then we quarantine bottles. We test them for any contamination, and we've never had one contaminated batch, and we've produced hundreds and thousands of gallons of goji juice. Never had one batch that was contaminated, never had one batch that had any pesticides or herbicides or any type of chemical like that. And then we ship it to our home office in Austin, Texas, where it then goes through another quarantine and another battery of tests, and then and only then, after it passed those tests, is it released to go to the health food store